So after crossing over Ganga, they reached the city of Mithila. And there, Vishwamitra told King Janak that Ram and Lakshman would like to see his famous bow, the Shivadhanush. Janak said, let me tell you the story behind this bow. He said, this bow has been in my family for many generations. It's a very precious Dhanu Ratnam. Yeah. It's very precious. And Janak also said, I have a daughter, Sita. I found her while clearing some land for a yajna. So Sita means the line drawn with a plow. So Sita was an orphan. He had found the baby while clearing the land.
Really?
Yes.
Because the story we hear when we're growing up is that she came out of the earth.
That's a beautiful way of depicting it, right? He's clearing the land with his plow and he finds the baby. And you could describe it like that, but yeah, she was Ayonija. Ayonija means orphan.
Damn. And that's written?
Yes. And not only Sita also describes this story later on in the story, describes her own background.
What does she say?
She describes the same thing to somebody else. Right now, Janak is describing to Ram and Lakshman. Yeah.
Is there any mention of her biological parents?
No, nobody knows.
Nothing.
No. Because she was found as a child.
Okay.
Yeah. And Janak adopted her and he was extremely fond of her. Loved her more than his own life.
Right. One interjection I'd like to make here is that, again, when you're growing up in our country, going back to the narrative about Vishnu and Shiva, they had consorts, right? Even Ma, the divine feminine, has a consort by the name of Shiva. But speaking just about Vishnu and Shivji, Vishnu's consort is Ma Lakshmi, Shivji's consort is Ma Parvati. And they say that whenever Vishnu Bhagwan takes an avatar, Bhagwan meaning God, whenever the god Vishnu takes an avatar, his consort, Ma Lakshmi, will also take an avatar in order to give him company in earthly realms. Is there anything mentioned about this aspect?
That reference is coming fairly shortly. So Sita is, she was found as a child, and when she grew up, she became of marriageable age. There were many suitors who sought her hand. And Janak said that she will only marry the greatest of all warriors, the most powerful of them. And in order, the test he kept for finding out who's the greatest the test was to lift the Shivadhanush. It was extremely heavy. Many people could not even move it. To lift the Shivadhanush, put a string it, and operate it. Okay, so this was the challenge for any suitor for Sita's hand. Many people tried, but all failed. You may have heard of this story also as being played out in a auditorium or a hall, right? But in the Valmiki Ramayana, that's not like that. Many people had already had a hand. When Ram and Lakshman came, Janak told them the backstory, that they have been suitors, but nobody has been successful. And so he asked his people to bring in the Shivadhanush. They rolled it in with great effort. It was kept in a box with wheels. It was so heavy they couldn't even lift it. So many people wheeled it in. And then Ram opened the box. He lifted it with ease, leelaya, as though it were mere play. He put a string and then pulled the string so hard all the way up to his ear. And because of the tension, the bow was bending, right? And then it suddenly snapped into two pieces. Janak exclaimed, "What extraordinary display of strength, power, and technique. I wish to give Sita's hand to Ram in marriage." And so messengers were sent to call Dashrath. Remember, Dashrath had sent off his sons Ram and Lakshman to fight two Rakshasas. So first of all, he was delighted to hear that they were safe.
I have to stop you here for a bit.
Yes.
I'd love to know what is spoken about the appearance of Shri Ram and Ma Sita. Are they described in terms of how they looked?
Yes. There is a physical description coming later. I can tell you how. So much later in the story, Sita asks Shri Hanuman to describe Ram because he has come as his messenger. She wants to make sure that she's actually seen him. So he says, "Can you describe him for me?" And then he gives a detailed description. And so there is a much detailed description there about Sita, not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, it comes later. Yeah.
Again, I'm asking this from the perspective of the audience visualizing.
Shri Ram was, of course, very powerful, handsome, regal, but also pleasant. He had one of the things that you hear many times, Ajanubahu, very long-armed. You could not see his shoulder blades. The muscles were so strong, extremely muscular. And yes, so that is the description of Shri Ram. And Sita as well, very, she had all the great qualities of beauty as described. And in fact, there is also a point where, unfortunately, Ravan is talking about Sita's beauty, which is not very pleasant to read because he's looking at her in a very lecherous way. Right? But for now, a prince and a princess, for your audience to picturize, right? A prince and a princess.
Also about Lakshman.
Lakshman was very much like Ram. They looked very much like each other. And in that description where Hanuman is describing to Sita, right? He says he looks very much like Ram. The only difference is that Lakshman is fair, whereas Ram is dark. So also Ram is dark-skinned. Yes. You would have seen in many depictions, they show him in a dark blue color, but actually it's, dark skin.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So, Dashrath is called. He comes to Mithila with a great army, bearing gifts together with his advisors. And there the marriage of Shri Ram and Sita is finalized. Not only that, Lakshman is also married to Sita's sister, Urmila. And Bharat and Shatrughna get married to Sita's cousins, Mandavi and Shrutakirti. So all four brothers get married. And then Vishwamitra from there goes off to his ashram.
What geographical location are we supposed to understand?
Mithila is east of Ayodhya in the foothills of the Himalayas. So Ayodhya, we are in the northern plains of India. And east of that, south of the Himalayas, just in the foothills.
Fair to say Nepal? Roughly.
Yes.
Because I have a lot of Nepali friends who say that, Sita Ma was from Nepal. I'd probably like to believe that as well. Okay.
After the marriage, everyone returns back to Ayodhya. And we are about at the end of the first book of the Ramayana, Balakand. In the last few verses, Valmiki describes the growing love and affection between Ram and Sita. So once again, I'd like to show you some of the actual verses, how he has described it. So this is the end of the first book, Balakand of the Ramayana. And here it ends. Valmiki describes the growing love and affection between Ram and Sita.
Smells so nice.
Ram was extremely devoted to Sita. Gunad Rupa Gunad Chapi Pritir Bhuyo Bhivardhate. Sita was beautiful and had all the great qualities, and Ram's love for her grew ever more stronger. Tasyascha Bharta Dvigunam Hridaye Parivartate. For Sita, her husband was doubly dear. Antargatamapi Vyaktamakhyati Hridayam Hrida. They could read each other's minds, what was in their hearts, even when things were left unsaid. Ram and Sita were like Vishnu and Lakshmi. And with those words, the first book of the Ramayana comes to an end. Balakandam Sampurnam.
Wow. Beautiful.
So,
if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.